Good evening, everybody. Welcome back for another edition of Reasonable Doubt. We've been off for a couple weeks, but we are brought to you, as always, by the Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association. I'm Jimmy Ardoin, your host, along with the hardest-working co-host in the business, Julio, Vela. What's up, man?
Hey, chilling. I'm super happy to be back. We're live. We got my best bud. We got another best bud. We have a good thing going. I'm very happy to be here.
Todd DuPont joins us tonight. You're back in the round with us again.
Hi.
You're a sucker to come back and roll with us for another Thursday evening.
My pleasure.
So we'll have Todd here the next hour. We will also light up the phone lines if you want to call in. We've got Twitter up as well. 713-807-1794 is the number, at HCCLA_TV, where you can hit us on the Twitters. Guys, we are in the worst time of year as far as I'm concerned.
How do you mean?
Well, football's over with. Baseball hasn't started yet.
Almost.
We're almost there. It's like we're in the and
you can smell it.
We're 3 weeks away from March Madness.
You can smell it.
So it's like all there is crappy college basketball and terrible NBA basketball.
We're still not over the Saints call though. Like it's going to take probably another week or so.
Did you see the lawsuit that was filed over that?
No.
Yeah, they filed a lawsuit. Well,
who filed the lawsuit?
A lawyer in New Orleans filed a lawsuit.
Rightfully so.
Because apparently they wanted Commissioner Goodell to exercise this power that he has.
It's written in there.
It is. That they could have sent the game back to play the final minute 43 and he could have overrode the whole thing. I mean, that would have been interesting, right?
What an amazing change of events if that were to have occurred.
Man, I tell you what, it would have been something, huh?
That would have been amazing.
We probably would have had a better Super Bowl had the Saints won it.
Well, I mean,
that's just my opinion.
At the end of the day, Drew Brees and the Saints deserved that shot at the Super Bowl. Period. I'm calling it. I'm saying it.
I think they did.
You're not the only one calling it, man.
So, aside from that, how's y'all's first 30 days or so of the new year been?
Everything's cool.
Yeah?
No worries.
I'll tell you, man, at least on some level, it's an amazing feeling to be at the forefront of a change.
Do you really think it's changed, though? I mean, I know we've got a bunch of new judges in, and we're seeing some things happening. Obviously, the first couple weeks, we saw some of the judges come in, just see with Sponte removing interlock devices, holding hearings on bond, and things that you've never seen before in certain courts. But then we had other courts that the doors would get locked during docket call.
Which one was that?
Court 12. Rob Fickman and I were in there when it happened.
Well, speaking of Court 12.
Well, I don't want to get into anything that's unsubstantiated or unconfirmed, but I was there when the doors were locked for docket call.
I'm not privy firsthand to that.
I was talking about Court 12. It might be benchless.
Maybe. We'll see. We don't know.
Look.
Don't go putting stuff out
there.
The
defense bar is here to help. I'm just saying. The defense bar is here to help. I mean that.
We hope so.
I'll say this. I've had the pleasure to be privy to working in courts with some of our new felony court judges. Mm-hmm. One of them recently. A lot of them, I think collectively the judges wanted to do two things, at least what I've heard from several of them. The new district court judges wanted to revisit bonds that were set from a magistrate, which is kind of the system that it was set up for. Hey, if we're not comfortable, even though y'all know what to do, if they send it up to the district courts I'm working in revisit those bonds on the first day. But they're also revisiting probable cause on cases. And I've had a situation where a district court judge has found that there was no probable cause on a case. This maybe 2 weeks ago, and told the DA's office, you need to send that to a grand jury. So in terms of the new judges and changes, to answer your ideas, Jimmy, they're doing things differently. Like, for instance, years ago, we wouldn't have seen this.
For
Sure. We wouldn't have seen plaques like the one we see in 7 and 8 above the bench.
that was Judge Andrew Wright.
Correct.
This bench belongs to the people.
No, in years past, all you'd see was awards for service
Donors?
to Mothers Against Drunk Driving and stuff. Never would you see things like that. So, I mean, I agree. There's been some changes, but
And I think
you know,
many more are coming, to be honest.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, we saw the institution of a lawsuit for the felony bonds. Now, interestingly enough, they have not sued the judges
And
in that case.
my understanding, without naming any names, is they don't want to.
They don't. They didn't want to sue the misdemeanor judges either. It wasn't. They didn't bring the misdemeanor judges in until they absolutely had to. Was what I was told.
Well, be that one as it may, the felony judges did not want to participate and do not agree with the things that have been done in the past.
Right.
From the limited understanding that I have, and I speak for none of those judges, only in passing and innuendo.
Yeah.
So I can't certainly answer for them.
I think that, and I've seen more individuals on lower level, non-violent offenses are getting PR bonds and getting out. You saw recently last week, Judge Morton get a huge backlash for for giving a bond, a constitutional right to a bond to an individual who either robbed or was accused of second degree felonies through a string of things out on Baytown, and the Baytown chief of police called out Judge Morton, either Baytown or Pasadena or something like that, about releasing individual PR bonds. But the reality is that people in this country are innocent until proven guilty, no matter what.
They are. And there's been some controversy. I guess the other high-profile case regarding bonds that have been granted is, of course, this guy who is alleged to have stalked Carolyn Farb and sent the letter to Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M. Apparently, he just got out again had his bonds lowered to an amount, and it's caused a little uproar.
There's another one I saw today with a lady in an arson case. That's the stepmother of a person accused of arson.
I mean, you got to balance stuff like that, don't you? I mean, this is the hard part. I mean, if you've got a situation where there is at least, and look, I agree with you, Julio. I mean, this is tough, right? I mean, it's because you are innocent until proven guilty. But you've got a situation where, for instance, let's take the stalking case. Okay, that's the allegation, that this guy is stalking, coming on her property, sending, hate letters and everything. I understand that you don't want to be punitive and keep this person in custody, but where's the fine line to ensure that, if in fact this guy is doing that, that behavior doesn't continue in the interim? And progress to something worse.
The case law answers that for us. And sadly, for folks that are potential victims of crimes, this is not helpful. But bail in the case law is clear about it, right? It should be enough to make sure they ensure the safety of the community, and also that person can come to court. We can't use bail as a measure of just keeping somebody in there when they're presumed innocent, right? Any human accused of a crime, right, is presumed innocent.
There was a day yesterday. Judge Bynum really boiled it down to one question. And he said, I quote, "If he had money, could he bail out?" And if the answer is yes, and he's indigent via the guidelines and found to be via a judge's order, then he deserves a PR bond. So he said, it really boils down to one question. If he had money, would he have a bond and could he bond out? If the answer is yes, he deserves a bond and then he should pay that unless he's indigent. If he's indigent, then he deserves a PR bond.
Well, potentially the higher question is when there's a higher allegation of a crime alleged. I think that's what.
Yeah, because that's what we're going to be dealing with in this felony law.
A murder, right. If it's a higher crime, clearly a court has to be concerned about the potential risk of bond to releasing this human being back to our community. Okay, that's a concern, but that's not the only concern.
Do we get to a point where, and Todd, you do a lot of federal work like me, but do we get to a point where perhaps it's going to be that certain cases there is a rebuttable presumption that there are no conditions of release that can be placed on a person?
This, in my opinion, to answer that question, is the state court has answered that by setting higher bonds, even higher than the unconstitutional bail schedule, to reach that goal. So, for instance, a bail schedule that was set a long time ago with the Republican judges, even the Democratic judges I work with daily reference it, and they deviate forwards and backwards from it. Yeah. But if it's a crime that's severe, potentially they go higher. They're not stuck to that maxim.
Well, it's kind of like sentencing guidelines, right? I mean, even though the federal sentencing guidelines are now advisory, no longer mandatory, the judges still have to at least make a finding and still have to consult them. And I mean, it's almost the same deal, even though now we're in a world where the bond schedule, nobody really is saying this is mandatory, they're still consulting it.
Well, in the misdemeanor courts, I think they've got it right.
Yeah.
At least in the new folks that have come in, and everything I hear, I think they're kicking ass on that. Mark, can I say that? In the district courts that I work in, they follow a maxim of an old school regimen, but I also think those are fair. I do. But I also believe for the folks that commit heinous or alleged to commit heinous crimes, and I have a couple defendants that have 6 or 7 filed cases against them. Their bonds get to the $200,000 and $300,000 based on, $50,000 and $60,000 and $70,000 per bond, right? I guess my notion is that at some point it becomes presumptive not to get bond, but in state court, it's just simply because you get priced out.
But okay, let's talk about the price. What are the factors? I mean, if a dude has money and he could pay the bond, then why not give him the PR bond if he's indigent?
Most felony courts, in my opinion, that are dealing with not small felony levels, set a bond of 20, 15, 20. I'll start at 2, 5, 15, 50, 100. They set bonds for folks. And, of course, these same judges do give PR bonds for low-level, first-risk offenders. They get PR bonds. And because Harris County has created a system where they're screening people, I'm sure y'all have talked about this on the show, But people that are deemed mid or high risk, they're getting actual bonds set, and those folks have to post a surety or a cash bond
You know, I think this week
based on the crime they're accused of.
Sure, we're talking first degrees, second degrees, capitals, those kind of offenses. You know
I mean, this is just, it's so tough, right? To me, and I know, and maybe there are some people that say, well, on the defense side, well, it's really not that tough. But I think when you get to felonies, it becomes a little tougher on deciding bond and deciding conditions of release because especially on allegations of crimes of violence, okay? And if the person has a criminal history, I mean, I realize
all of that is taken in consideration at the bench conference.
Yeah, and I mean,
and tell them, we have a conference at the bench. The state will talk about their probable cause, and they typically read that person's criminal history.
Yep.
What I will do as their defense lawyer is talk about their ties to the community, how old they are, where they're from. I can't rebut criminal history, but we'll attempt to mitigate any probable cause issues. The court's going to err on the side of caution on bond, in my humble experience.
I agree. I mean, I think that you can't compare the misdemeanor lawsuit and the felony lawsuit that's now pending as an apples to apples case. Because, I mean, you know, somebody who is a repeat offender of driving while license invalid or misdemeanor trespass cases where there's no significant property damage, you know, it's just the guy is homeless and camping on property where he's not supposed to be. Those are different scenarios from, you know, repeat offenders who come in charged with aggravated robbery, who may also have, you know, an aggravated assault case, aggravated assault conviction,
a murder behind him.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. So I just don't think you can compare these lawsuits as, you know, exactly the same. I think it's going to cause, and rightfully so. I mean, look, I think that for so long, as you alluded to, Todd, the judges would just pick up this schedule, they'd look at it, and they'd say, all right, you know, here's what it is. And now I think what this lawsuit is going to do is we're going to have to actually put in a system whereby we have meaningful hearings.
Well, the felony judges haven't been named, so they're not named in the lawsuit.
Yeah.
They, as far as I understand, are discussing it, but they're not named in this lawsuit. So they're not in peril, if you will, with regards to a lawsuit on this. But the lawyer that sued them, and I forget his name, is extremely intelligent and white-collar guy, but
Neil Manny.
when he was suing the county judges, the old ones, I don't mean old, the past regime ones,
Correct.
They had already, in discovery, had figured out issues they had with the back then felony judges.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't name any names because that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
None of those are here today. So.
No, it is. I mean, and look, I mean, it's a new year. It's a new
year, new me.
New dawn. on
new
the
dawn, new
judiciary.
day.
So we'll see what happens.
Enough about me. How y'all? I don't want to talk no more.
Oh,
didn't
no,
want to
man. That's
come
why
here,
you're here,
man.
man. We said, who are we going to call? We're going to call Todd? Let's call Todd. Todd will talk.
What else?
Have either of y'all been to trial in state court yet?
I have not been to trial in state court yet. I've had a couple trial settings dismissed. Todd,
Yeah,
3 dismissed Friday.
he did, and he didn't even put it on Jeff Ross. So, Jeff, if you're listening.
No,
yeah,
Jeff Ross got
but
it.
the Mocha one.
Oh, that's all right.
Montgomery County, Jeff Ross, Todd DuPont's looking for it.
Oh, no. No.
No, I mean, so I did happen to see Court Akers was trying a case with his dad.
Where?
Yeah, in front of in front of Judge Hill the other day.
Okay, because he told me. Did he reach a verdict?
I think they did. I walked in on an off-docket matter and saw they were in trial, but the jury wasn't in the box. I think they were getting close when I went in.
Well,
So there are trials going on. The new judges are jumping in the deep end of the pool within the first
and
30 days.
they're still using the impact court.
Yeah.
So, there's a learning curve with some of the judges. Some of the, I call them old schools, but they are. They're still sitting on impact. So
Right.
with new judges I'm talking about felony judges.
Yeah.
That aren't ready or just trying to manage their docket. Cases are being sent up. Cases are being tried in Harris County.
Well, and we found out this week we're going to get some of the courtrooms back open on the lower floors at the Criminal Justice Center so that the misdemeanor courts can have somewhere to go and get some of their trial
What was the
docket
deal? They
backlogged.
said they approved some money?
Yeah, about
well,
$5 million, I think,
well,
around there.
apparently,
Is that going to remove all the mold so we don't
Jail
all end up with
dockets-
black lung?
jail docket's out.
It's out. What do you mean?
It's over. There's no more jail docket in 35 days. In Harris County, that means 60.
So that we'll be back to a combined.
We're back
Jail
to
and bond.
everybody on
Bond
bond, everybody on jail, everybody in the same court.
Are they going to be able to bring all the courts back over to the CJC?
So, all
You're
misdemeanors.
talking about misdemeanor court?
Talking about misdemeanor court, and apparently every judge is going to have their chambers too. Every court, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
They're going to go to CJC?
CJC in the next 35 days. In Harris County, I believe that means 60.
So you're saying they take out going to the family building, they only go to CJC?
No more 8:30. Yes. No more 8:30 docket. Get done by 11. It's full day dockets. Full day dockets. And I suppose trials. Let's start having some trials.
So
Come
are they
on.
going back to the old courtrooms?
Back to the old courtrooms on a different level.
In the same building, but different floors.
So like 8, 9,
Same
10.
building, different floors. That's right.
8, 9, 10, 11 will all be back
8,
in
9,
service?
10, 11.
Wow.
They're going to have to, well, I don't know if it's 8, 9, 10, 11. I know it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15,
We got it.
16.
But they bring, there's, like when you say you go to a jail docket, you go to CJC, but they just bring them like we're used to.
So normally you have
In the
in
back.
the misdemeanors, you have an 8 a.m., 8:30 a.m., and an 11 a.m. And they switch courtrooms. If you have a jail docket's in a different building. Now, in the next 35, in my opinion, 60, I'm rooting for you, Lupe. Who's our county judge? Lupe, right? Garcia? No, that's not her name. That was terrible. That's not your name.
Just keep going.
Yeah. We're going to have courtrooms in the CJC.
Is that really?
Rena Hidalgo.
Gosh.
Yeah.
well,
that
you're
was
gonna-
terrible.
It
You
was.
were.
Who will never be on the show now.
You were.
Well,
you were
look,
nowhere,
look.
You were nowhere even in the right vicinity.
No, both of us, we're brown, we're straight. What I'm trying to say is that CJC, thank you, Commissioner's Court. Apparently, y'all voted for a bunch of stuff that's going to help us at least fix or ameliorate this problem. Thank you so much, Commissioner's Court.
Is it going to be weird when we actually get back to functioning as we were pre-Hurricane Harvey?
Well, I think we're all happy to be back in that building, which is weird because none of us want to go to the civil building.
Well, but we all hate 1201 Franklin. And I mean, frankly, I still have health concerns about that building and whether it's even fit for people to go in,
And there are.
you know.
I think you and I should sue the county.
I wouldn't,
You're much smarter than me.
well, I mean,
I'll sign my name first. I'll take the writ.
We're both from east of the Sabines, so I'm not gonna really say
Commit right
say
now.
that our IQs are all that really on the highest of levels, but
Nobody's like literally falling out when they come out.
no, but I mean, like, but seriously, I mean, I
It's like an asbestos claim, potentially.
yeah, but I mean, that stuff doesn't manifest as stuff. Like, what damages?
I'm with you.
I mean,
Well,
I'm coughing.
Hey,
maybe
Mike makes-
intentional infliction of emotional distress by
I'm
having
going
no,
crazy.
but
Like I'm a
Honorable
little loose.
Mike McSpadden said for years that even after the 07 when they remediated the building, he still had
doubts.
yeah. I don't know.
I mean, look, I think every county building, frankly, is a little bit suspect to be in. You walk into the old jail, the old family courthouse that's still up. I mean, look, I don't think those things, in talking to former Judge Carahan, he said when they would turn on the air conditioners that huge dust bunnies would just blow out
It's disgusting.
because they had never cleaned the thing. So, what's going on over at the civil courthouse? I don't know. I don't think the county really cleans that stuff up all that well. I mean, you walk in.
But seriously, that's disgusting.
No, it is. It is.
And it has to be unhealthy. Tony Busby, are you watching tonight?
I don't even want to go there.
Tony, no, we should call Tony. Come on the show, Mr.
Well, no, he has
Tony.
enough money to sue the county, and it might be our next mayor.
Yeah, he's busy running for mayor and figuring out who stole
I'm
stuff
just
out of his
j-
house.
I'm just
Um,
joking.
I thought that was a court reporter
No, there was another theft after the Super Bowl.
after the Super
You
Bowl.
didn't read that?
No.
Keep up.
God, man, I'm so behind.
Got our county judge's name wrong. You don't even
I know.
what's going
I'm
on.
sorry, County Judge. I'm sorry. Come on the show. We can clear it up.
Surprised he didn't run through all the Hispanic names he could figure out.
He's
Thank God it was me that did it.
Let me just exhaust the list here.
Thank God it was me that did it. That's all I got to
He's
say.
good. Any calls coming in?
No,
What
we got no calls. Somebody call
nobody,
in.
Nobody
Call
to
in.
save Julio at this point.
No, I'm done.
It's left to you and me, Todd.
I will say though, what's up with Madam District Attorney Kim Ogg calling for $20 million worth of more prosecutors? You like it? You don't like it? What do you think?
I've heard both sides. I saw the news piece. Mostly this is politics. I, as a human that works in that building with her felony trial bureau every day, Monday through Friday, agree with her that they're overworked. The intake, which is not necessarily a system of the, meaning it's not their issue of the crime that's being committed in our county, and they do screen cases and not accept every case. The reality is, and I do agree with Ms. Ogg, that their line prosecutors are overworked. I disagree with the person that worked for one of the, I don't know, it seems like she was for a civil rights organization that spoke at the same time and said
Texas Organizing Project.
that she says if we hire more prosecutors, we're going to have more crime, or more prosecutors prosecuting more crime, which means we're going to have people more going to jail. And her notion was that we should, and I believe her notion was that we need to use those funds to fund mental health and other types of issues that divert people from going to jail.
On NPR this morning or the other morning, Madam Kim Ogg, District Attorney Kim Ogg said, if we're going to be serious about criminal justice reform, you have to fund it. And I believe that. I do believe that you have to fund it. However, let me put the goggles on from a misdemeanor perspective. I think there's a lot of we're getting cases that people are still getting charged in Harris County with possession of marijuana is less than 4 ounces. People are getting charged
4 or 2?
less than 4 ounces. Less than 4 ounces. So, I mean, we're talking misdemeanor amount of
Misdemeanor A.
misdemeanor A amount of marijuana, which quite frankly is a bunch of marijuana. I mean, you look at 4 ounces of weed, I mean, it's like that. Okay. People getting charged up with that. Trespasses, driving while license invalid.
Well, that's still a crime, Big.
It is
Let's
still a crime.
think about it. Let's
but-
pause there.
Oh, well, one of the things that I mentioned.
Less than 2 ounces, I can agree with you, man.
One of the things that I've talked to a number of judges is this idea of 1 day deferreds or 10-day deferreds or 6 months deferreds or 5 or 50 days deferreds in jail. So this is an alternative that one of our
deferred in jail.
you can as a condition. So I can
okay,
as a
I can see
condition I can tell you I can as
You have a
Yeah.
5-day deferred. You serve 5 days.
Right,
When
yeah.
you get out, I
get that.
discharge you.
Yeah, I get that.
Which is incredibly unique, but the law allows for that.
Yeah, it does.
it's something that
well,
can be used.
It is. I mean, look, I don't necessarily agree with the person who says that we hire more prosecutors, that we're just going to be filing more crimes. I take it a little bit at a different angle. Okay, anytime you're adding more people to a government organization, what is that? That's an expansion of government. Well, why are we expanding the government? First off, I don't think. I mean, look, our government's big enough as it is, from national level to county level to state level to city level. We got government all around us, okay? So what are 102 more prosecutors going to do, okay? That's my big question. What are they going to do? Are they actually going to be prosecuting in the court? Or are we going to put some of them on intake and train them to evaluate cases? Because that could eliminate a backlog, right? I mean, if the district judges are holding examining trials and examining probable cause and throwing a bunch of cases out, what does that tell you? That tells you that on the front end, we have prosecutors who aren't being trained correctly to analyze cases. They should be able to say, if we hire prosecutors and train them, because Lord knows, I mean, you don't know everything there is to know about search and seizure and probable cause right out after you step out of law school. So you need somebody to train those people and teach them how to evaluate and have the guts and have the intestinal fortitude to stand up to law enforcement and say, sorry, dude, go back and get some more evidence.
Here's my response, not antagonistic, but in conjunction.
Yeah.
The intake prosecutors now are not what I call kind of local lawyers. They were pulled in. None of us really know them, and they don't know what Fifth Ward is,
Right.
what River Oaks is. They take charges kind of benign and by the book. And that doesn't serve our community. And I'm saying this on air. And behind them is Jim Leitner, who does know our community, but often he'll take a charge or supervise those folks. Secondly, I will say, I know for a fact, because I work in a lot of district courts, our district courts are understaffed. I believe that, and I'll say
From
that.
a prosecutor's standpoint?
Correct.
Yeah.
They have too many cases, and this is just by happenstance, but some people get pregnant and have to take off. Some people get sick. We've had people that get cancer. When that happens, you have 2, maybe 1, and we have visiting chiefs. I'm not saying, all I'm saying is that, at least in the courts that I work in, there are about 6 or 7 of 22, okay? My humble experience. Even in those courts, we can get understaffed, and if we don't have 3 there doing their thing, it won't get done that day.
But is it a problem?
It won't get done.
Is it a problem of overcharging? Is it?
No, I think the problem is this. I mean, there's and look, you guys, I mean, I'm down there maybe a couple times a week. Maybe it's every other week that I'm down there. But the things that I've noticed is this. there is, and I've seen the things you're talking about, Todd, but I'm going to expand on it a little bit, because what I'm seeing is that they are having a really hard time with this transition to the whole e-discovery, e-filing, everything being on electronic format. They're really struggling with that, which is, given the fact that a lot of people in the office are millennials, that's really shocking to me. They're really struggling with technology.
I disagree with that with every person I work with. I'm just telling you, and I mean no disrespect to you. Everyone I know has that down.
I'm not saying.
We
I'm not
just-
saying
but
the
we
functional
just- you and I
standpoint.
just
I'm
spent.
saying. I'm saying that there is a problem where somebody is not uploading stuff. Things are not getting brought in. People are struggling with the process of getting the file together. In the old days, if something was missing from the file, it's because law enforcement didn't turn it in or an agency didn't bring it in. Now
That's said differently.
I think what's happening is you've got the mass chaos of people moving around from court to court, people not checking off to-do lists, people not updating it in the system, not writing stuff in the system, not transferring stuff over from the written files to the electronic files and updating it in there. I mean, I had somebody ask me, well, wait a second, and this is a case where we were doing a BIP and dismiss. Well, wait a second, where is the offer that you're even doing a BIP and dismiss? Dude, I've been on doing this thing for 6 months now. And now you're asking where it's coming from?
That's why I bring a paper file to court every time.
But
I do. I memorialize our conversation each time in court.
But that's what I'm
I know.
saying is that
I know.
they say, well, it looks like the video's here, but then they call down, they're like, we don't know where the video is.
And the other thing to do, sadly, Kim, please consider this. There are some things that can't be uploaded to the portal by format. Okay, and I get that, and I think every prosecutor I've worked with for years understands that, and I don't know why, but it can't. But they provide a disc at the front desk, but then you have to go get that. It's not seamless like uploading it to the portal.
Right.
And since they don't bring a file to court, the district attorney can't necessarily bring that to court. That gets lost. If you don't go get it,
Yep.
or, it's not uploaded to their portal.
No, for sure. It's
So
I don't know,
there's
that-
still a stopgap on that. But I think that can be fixed.
I think it can, but that's what I'm saying is, what are the 102 prosecutors going to be doing? Are they actually going to be on the front lines prosecuting, or are we going to have more people,
They need to stop prosecuting these bogus clog
well, but I thought
misdemeanor.
I thought we were going to be
driving
diverting a lot of that.
Right. Well, we're supposed to. We're supposed to either divert it or do something else. This is why Assistant District Attorney Kim Ogg has gotten a ton of backlash. That she ran on a campaign that was lip service, that is not fulfilling what she should have done, and this is where she's feeling this heat. And along with, you have judges who are giving more PR bonds, and you have a backlash of law enforcement. I mean, we recently saw the union lawyer, the union spokesperson of the Houston Police Department saying that, basically, if you're against the police, we're going to watch you, and you're.
Oh, they came out civil rights.
You're going down.
There's a group that's come out and asked for him to resign.
Well,
He should be fired, in my opinion.
Well, okay, and this is the reality of Harris County that's going on right now, and then you have District Attorney Kim Ogg asking for $20 million or $5 million, however much, from our prosecutors. I'm going to join in Todd's description of Harris County down there. There's too much crime, or there's too many charges. Let me put it that way. There's overcharges. I'm going to say overcharges. There's not enough prosecutors to go over every case. And 3, what's happening is justice is falling through the cracks. It's fallen through the cracks. The cases that should be spent time on, the resources as taxpayers that should be spent on is getting put in this waste bin, and they're arresting people and spending resources on things that shouldn't, and they're just asking, and she's just asking for more money.
And we got a couple questions coming in over the interwebs that I want to get to, but I want to ask you this on the diversion before we get there, because I wonder if she really hasn't implemented, or the office as a whole hasn't implemented it to the extent that they promised or talked about pre-election. Because recall, with the DWI diversion program, how stringent it is, the qualifications were to get in, and the screening process to get in. Why did they do that? Because they wanted their stats to look good on diversion.
I get it.
Okay, they didn't want people who were going to come in, maybe fail the diversion, or even worse, complete the diversion, but then go right back out and have another problem. They wanted to screen, because remember, it was this whole thing where your client had to go in and get questioned and surveyed and make sure they weren't an ongoing threat to reoffend and everything.
Pay $300.
Right, to get evaluated. So I wonder if they're trying to manipulate the data on this by saying, well, before we just go willy-nilly letting people out here, maybe we should institute something better, because if we just start having statistics that look crappy, we're going to get some real political backlash.
I haven't thought of it that way. I can see how one could look at it that way.
Because think about it, on the DWI diversion, there wasn't that much. There was political backlash when Devin Anderson first wanted to do it, because Mothers Against Drunk Driving and everybody went crazy. How can you do this? But then she put in all those protections that basically, you could only get in if you were half a step away from being,
right.
Mother Teresa, and that.
But even
I think that has ameliorated their concerns.
And they, at least, and I do few misdemeanors. JV does many more, but they still, it's it's a sliding scale on.
No, it is.
How you're going to play this completely depends on what court you land in.
Yeah. One of the questions.
And not to be ugly to the brass of the DA's office,
right.
but
yeah,
it really is. It kind of depends.
It does. Well, it shouldn't anymore anyway.
It shouldn't. That's the problem. It shouldn't.
One of the questions coming in, if the DA needs more money for more attorneys, what about court-appointed attorneys? Harris County has never changed the misdemeanor court-appointed pay, ever. DA's got a pay raise about 3 months ago. Do we do the
March
budgets
1st?
need to be
March
linked?
1st. The budget changes. We all get a pay raise.
Misdemeanors too?
On felonies, yes.
Well, I'm out of misdemeanors. A joke. I'm in, but I'm out.
March 1st, felony gets a pay raise. I do not know about misdemeanors.
And they raised, so you can get up to. It used to be you could get 5 misdemeanors a day. They raised it to 7.
So you got a raise.
7.
For the same pay, right?
It's for the same pay. Now,
take more cases.
now you're going to take more cases, and you're going to be able to bill more on the back end for your out-of-court hours and stuff, because you're getting more cases. But at the same time, you're going to give somebody 7 cases. Now, granted, in the years I've been doing it, I've maybe gotten 7 cases 2 to 3 times over the course of a decade.
Another interesting question that comes in here, and this is an interesting topic that I don't think we've ever covered, but I do want to kind of delve into this because I know it goes on. Why don't more attorneys have cash bond businesses for their clients? One-stop shop. I know there are some lawyers who do that. I view it as a conflict of interest.
It certainly is.
It has to be.
I mean, I don't even know really, frankly, how it goes on.
I think it may still exist, but if it does, it's a white elephant.
Dude, no,
Yeah.
it exists, man. Some of the
Yeah.
smaller counties, even in Harris.
Well, I
but
was thinking
surrounding-
more of Harris, but certainly in the smaller counties.
It's there, and I tend to. I mean, I don't tend. I agree with you that's it. I don't do it, so I live. So
Bad practice.
Yeah.
Right, one of my mentors, and you was in it. Never speak ill of another lawyer or
No,
another
but
lawyer's ways, but
I think
I
it's-
don't know.
I think it's a conflict. I want to take this phone call because we got the Honorable Franklin Bynum on the phone.
Nice.
Your Honor, thanks for calling in.
What's up, Judge?
Yeah. How you doing?
We're doing well. I mean,
Hi.
we got Todd here, so
Feels like old times.
It
Where's
does.
your cowboy hat, Todd?
It's at the house.
Usually you sit right here, Judge.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Well, I wanted to, maybe address some of the things that y'all have been talking about. Definitely, the misdemeanor court judges are, we've been doing a lot. I mean, we've been in office about a month. We've basically all but settled the bail lawsuit, implemented a new local rule. We have transitioned to a new booking center, really leading, working with the district courts and with the sheriff's office. And so, yes, but yes, we do want to pay our lawyers more, our appointed lawyers more. And not just that, we're moving towards a managed assigned counsel system as quickly as we possibly can to take appointments out of the hands of judges into the hands of professionals. We have the Indigent Defense Commission coming down to meet with us in the coming week. I mean, we're, I got to, really give kudos to Judge Jordan, who has been an incredible leader fighting many different, battles on different fronts. And I don't even want to call it fighting battles as much as it is just like moving us forward hugely.
Well, you mentioned today that, he's also, I think, a major in the military.
Yeah, he's in the Army. He's just an incredible, incredible leader. What a gift to have him. He is a gift. Everybody in the county should be grateful that we have Daryl Jordan.
Judge Bynum, let me ask you, I'm going to ask you a two-part question. The first one is, what do you think your biggest challenge that you've had to face coming in on your honeymoon? And what do you think is the biggest mountain that you're going to climb going forward?
Oh, well, I think that the conditions are really hard. And I think that moving back to the CJC will alleviate a lot of it. But, consider this, that with 2 jail dockets every day, handling 8 courts each, we have 16 judges, we have 16 court staffs. When we are trying no cases, we have to staff 18 courts, 2 more than we have staff for. And it stretches us thin even when we're not trying cases. To try cases is even more of a strain. So that has been the most difficult part. Now, let me say this about the misdemeanor jail docket. I heard y'all talking about additional prosecutors and all of this. Something like 3/4 of the misdemeanor jail docket are felony pending cases. And, I'll leave it to y'all to discuss what that's about. But, dragging people over that are sitting on other things.
Well, Judge, can I ask you? If it's felony pending, I mean, they just reset them, right? By practicality?
Yeah, but they're waking them up from the jail. They're bringing them over. We're having to staff 2 courts. The system as it's set up is really something of a boondoggle.
Well, let me ask you, because every time I have a felony with a misdemeanor pending, I look it up, of course, and then it says the misdemeanors the next day, right? And then I'm investigating my case and moving forward. Then next time I come, the misdemeanors the next day. Is there another way to resolve that, or I don't know that, because I'm not on the misdemeanor side of it, but the case just drags on with it.
well, I mean,
I'll let y'all, talk about it. I mean,
I guess that's a DA's position on that, not the courts.
Judge, have you guys had any meetings? We had talked earlier in the show about Julio had alluded to this use of jail time on shorter deferred adjudications, and we've been talking about diversions. Have you guys, as a group, had any discussions with the chain of command at the DA's office about how to utilize these things in certain types of cases?
That's that 1-day deferred we're talking about.
Well, not at a high level. I mean, at a high level, what do you mean, Jimmy? You mean
Well, I mean, she had Kim Og had talked a lot about utilizing a greater number of diversions prior to her, coming into office, and I didn't know if now that we have a new wave of judges coming in who are of the same political party, if there's been any formal meetings to say, okay, here's how we're going to proceed with diversions, because there was kind of this headbutting before where some
right,
judges...
we don't do that anymore,
Yeah.
right? I mean, as far as I know, I don't think any of us interfere or bust PTIs. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't, I know that certainly I don't. I mean, people come up and ask if I'll take it. I'm like, look, that's between y'all. I'm pretty sure that's all of our opinion about it. I'm not in all 16 courts every
Sure.
day, but I mean, from talking to them, that's my impression.
Nice.
That
Good
we all
job.
sat around and talked about it, and we don't bust PTIs. But the thing is that, there's still many marijuana cases filed. I mean,
Yeah.
in January, there were about 300 marijuana cases filed just in January alone. So,
Misdemeanor, Your Honor? Or in total?
I think in total, but there are hardly any felonies. I mean, virtually all misdemeanors. Yeah.
So, Judge, you've taken a look at the Joint Processing Center? We talked a little bit about that.
Yeah. So the JPC is really an interesting kind of place.
We have a new acronym?
JPC.
Yeah,
So,
with the new acronym, the JPC 700 North San Jacinto is the new booking center. Everyone booking into the county jail or out of the county jail, the entire complex goes into or out of 700 North San Jacinto now. And in fact, it consolidates booking citywide. HPD will be bringing people directly downtown instead of city jails starting in about 30 to 45 days.
Like
And then at that
Facebook, like.
Yeah, so it finally gives us some improved oversight of police agencies countywide here in the judiciary, and I've been down there personally almost every day since it opened, and it's look, I got to give my hats off to the sheriff's office for it's a tough transition. I think they've handled it pretty well, but the building itself really treats people much better than I think have ever been treated before. Now it could always be better. We could be citing and releasing people. Don't get me wrong, but people are, generally pretty they're free to move around. They can go to the bathroom. They're watching TV. It looks like an airport terminal, to be quite honest. People are generally in much better spirits than I ever saw them at the old booking center, the IPC. So, that's an improvement, right? And pretrial services is there and has a huge section where they work, and the public defenders are there, and it's a non-linear process. So ideally, things will be moving fast. And one of the reasons I'm there is to try to, understand how it works. So when our new rule comes online in the coming weeks, in the misdemeanor courts where we're going to be releasing, people much sooner on many categories of cases, that we know what the flow is and how, what the bottlenecks are, because they still exist, and how we can work around them.
hey, Judge, what's the question? If you had money, would he pay it?
Yeah, the question. Look, I tell people at the jail docket, look, I can't hold you in the Harris County Jail because you don't have the money to pay to get out, right? And people, the idea behind bail reform is simple, right? And y'all are right that the felony courts present different problems, but y'all know as well as I do that a lot of the cases in the felony courts are misdemeanor conducts just enhanced with prior convictions, right? A lot of yes, there are the edge cases. Yes, there are the violent crimes and things. Under this framework that Judge Rosenthal set up, I think it's a very fair framework, which is that someone can be detained on an unaffordable financial condition if it can be shown that there is no non-financial condition that can satisfy that can satisfy the concerns or the obligations of the court, right, which appearance in court and safety of the community. So, I think that the problem in felony court, yes, is different than misdemeanor, but not maybe not as much as people think.
Yeah.
So yeah, the question is, if this person had money, would they get out? And in misdemeanor bail amounts, $3,000, $4,000 on kind of the high end these days. It's like, if you had $300-$400, you'd be out of jail. And so,
But some can't even make that in reality. It's
people can't make
Right.
$50. People can't make $50.
Yeah.
I was a public defender. Yeah, it's just like you're bailed at $500. Anyone that can show up $50. This is before PR bonds or personal bonds were being handed out at the rate they are now. But the thing is, like, they should be, and they are, and we're all learning.
What's crazy, Judge, is that the difference between what used to be and is what now. I wouldn't believe what used to be. It is.
I know, and the thing
it's
is,
absurd to me.
It's so much something that I've learned. To get back to your question is, it's so much easier to run the system in a marginally more humane way. It takes, it's so much easy. It's so easy to do. Now that's not our goal, to run it marginally more humane. But just being some of these cases, finding no PC on some of these cases is an easy call, and we all saw it before when they would just let that stuff slide all the time. And it doesn't slide anymore, and it's easy to do. You just tell them this doesn't slide, or this isn't okay, and that's it.
Hey, that's. I don't know the legal word to say. That's freaking awesome, man.
Hey, look! I'm gonna do this.
That's awesome, man. If there's no PC, bye.
Adios.
Yeah. Sometimes those are edge cases. The vast majority of the cases, there is PC. It's a low standard, but I mean, minimal oversight's really easy. That's not our goal. Our goal is comprehensive oversight, comprehensive reform. But I'm just saying.
That's cool, man.
Well, unfortunately, we have to let you go because we have to start wrapping this thing up, Judge.
All right,
We'd love to get you on to talk for the full hour with us. So
Someday.
let us know when you're free.
Right,
thanks for the call in. You too.
Thanks, Judge.
Awesome.
We got to wrap this up, guys. Thanks for coming on.
I just work
Appreciate
here.
you
That's a little Todd DuPont.
dedicating an hour of your time to come in and spend it with us. On a
My
Thursday
pleasure.
night. We appreciate it.
Y'all are my friends.
That's all we ask.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Good to see you.
Are we gonna have a show next week? I think we are.
Wayne Heller on the show.
No.
Wayne, I'll call you tomorrow.
Actually, no. The next week we're closing down the whole place for maintenance.
Oh.
No show.
Sorry about that.
Rerun.
We just learned that there won't be a show next week.
Next week will be my trip to the
Studio beyond
Cancun.
for maintenance.
I've never been to Cancun.
Sorry.
I'll see y'all in 6 months. My twice a year appearance.
Okay, so it'll be at least 2 weeks before we're back.
Y'all are doing a great job.
Well, appreciate it. That's all the time we have for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. For our guest, Todd DuPont, and my co-host, Julio Vela. We will see you in 2 weeks, hopefully. Good night.